The top three in the Cy Young were all in the National League West, but none of them were the Dodgers. We're on the Dodgers. Blake Snell won the Cy Young, and he's a free agent. Should the Dodgers go after him, we'll look at the pros and cons of signing the left-hander, and then we'll look at three now former Dodgers pitchers that are available in free agency, and if there's worth a flyer of any of them. That's what's on tap. So let's get locked on Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yo, Dodger fans. Welcome to Locked On Dodgers. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one local sports daily podcast network. Locked On, your team every day. This is a daily podcast covering the Los Angeles Dodgers, bringing you the smart fans' perspective on our boys in blue. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more, and right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. We are here every weekday morning for you, bringing you the smart fans perspective on our boys in blue. You can find us wherever you find podcasts and on YouTube. All you got to do is search for Locked On Dodgers, and you can become an everydayer by listening or watching every day, which is made easier by subscribing, once again, wherever you get podcasts or on YouTube, or both if you want. If this is your first time listening or watching, I'm Ben Samperio, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jeff Snider, and we're both lifelong Dodger fans that do this podcast. So we cover the team in that aspect. We've covered the team in different aspects in the past. We have been in the press box, been in the locker room, talked to players, been at spring training. We've done a lot of different things. We're not quite insiders, though. We're just here to bring you what we believe is some smart takes on the Dodgers, smart thoughts on the Dodgers. We're trying to make everyone a more informed Dodger fan. And we usually do that through the use of rationality. But, it doesn't always work out for everybody. But we try to do it anyway. So that's what we're here to do today. And like I mentioned in the start, the top three vote getters for National League Cy Young were all in the NL West. The Dodgers had none of them. The Dodgers did not have any pitchers that received Cy Young votes, which probably wasn't a surprise. And it ended up coming down, or it ended up being unanimous. Was unanimous for Blake Snell? I know Garrett Cole's unanimous. Either way, Blake Snell won. Logan Webb was second. Zach Gallen was third. Or were you surprised by that top three, Jeff? And then we'll get into specifically Blake Snell and free agency.
No, the National League Cy Young was pretty weird this year because, even Snell, who was clearly the winner, there were some big question marks about his dominance. Ultimately, when you get down to run prevention, he was dominant. He had the best ERA in baseball. But the second and third, like Gallen started the All-Star game, but he was hit and miss at times. Logan Webb, like his underlying numbers were a lot better than his actual numbers. And so, it wasn't necessarily surprising, but I feel like none of those guys really had a dominant season, even though like Snell, you could make a case it was dominant based on the ERA, but the way he got there was really, really weird. And the other two guys had different issues, but similar lack of dominance, I felt like.
Yeah, I just didn't pay attention to the Giants, I guess. I feel like Logan Webb had the quietest second place finish in Cy Young ever. I don't think I saw his name in a lot of places leading up into it, and then all of a sudden he's there. He led the league in innings pitched with 216. But other than that, wasn't, he didn't walk a lot of guys, and he threw a lot of innings. He wasn't amazing in any sense. But yeah, like I said, it was a different year in Cy Young, especially on the National League side. And even in general, and that probably makes sense due to the uptick in offense that was provided by all the new rules and kind of like the new people getting used to it, people getting used to pitch clock, people getting used to, more runs being scored. I would imagine all that contributed to kind of what was a weird Cy Young year.
Yeah, for sure. It was one of those things where, even Clayton Kershaw, before he got hurt, he was right there in the conversation, and he like ERA wise, it was good, but like even if Kershaw hadn't gotten hurt, he would have pitched, about 165 innings probably, and had an ERA, mid twos. It wouldn't have been in Kershaw's top 7 seasons of his career probably, but he would have gotten real consideration simply because the competition was quite a bit different.
Yeah. All right. So Blake Snell is a free agent. It's, I think, the 4th year now in a row in the national, or not 4th year in a row, but it's happened 4 years in a row. I think maybe not National League, that the Cy Young winner is a free agent after, and Blake Snell matches that criteria for this year. And we haven't talked specifically about him in the sense of should the Dodgers go after him, should they not go after him, pros and cons. So let's kind of just run through some of those pros and cons, and we can start with the pro that he's the reigning Cy Young champion, and the other pro that he's done well against the Dodgers, and he's done well at preventing runs, at least this last season. So without getting into that, let's just talk about that specifically first, of why he wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, Snell is a very, very good pitcher. Even when he has struggled at times, he's been very good. It's his second Cy Young award. He's deserved both of them when he's won them. And when he's good, he's very, very good. And so if the Dodgers are looking to make a splash pitching wise, Blake Snell would make a lot of sense because I don't, it's hard for me to talk about the pros without like everything has like a hedging my bets, like, but then there's also this, and so even when I'm trying to just say the positive sentence, I just have to keep only saying half of a sentence because my brain just wants to argue against it too, because there are so many red flags throwing up for me. What are your positives, Vince?
Yeah, I mean, it's the second time he's won Cy Young in the last 5 years or 6 seasons. So, he's had a mixed bag of results in between that. But last year, if you just go off last year specifically, 2.25 ERA, if you want to look at ERA, 180 innings pitched, in 32 starts, like just for that right there, the fact that he started 30 games would be beneficial for the Dodgers. I think the fact, that he's pitched well against the Dodgers, probably lends itself to a little bit. The Dodgers have had good offenses a lot in the past, even if they've struggled a little bit more against left-handed pitching. He's still been able to be, even in his bad seasons, he's pitched well against the Dodgers. So he have that going for him. He has a 3.33 career ERA in the postseason. He's again another mixed bag of sorts, but he's had good outings, and he's shown that he's able to pitch well in the postseason. So I think as a pitcher, he's a good pitcher. And then the other positive that comes with that is that if he comes to the Dodgers, I think they can make him a better pitcher.
Yeah, and that, I guess that is a good positive, that if the Dodgers were to go after him, it would be at least in part because they see some things that they can obviously, you're not looking to improve the rating Cy Young winner too much, but you are hoping to help him maintain his performance. And I'm trying to think, do he and Andrew Friedman have a relationship? I know that Friedman was already with the Dodgers by the time starting around the time that Snell debuted with the Rays. So I assume that Friedman was
the one drafted in 2011. So Friedman was there.
Yeah. So, there may be some of that relationship. But yeah, I mean, I don't think I would expect Blake Snell to come in and be the ace of the team, but as part of their strategy going after pitching this offseason, I think you could do a lot worse than Blake Snell.
Yeah, we'll get into a couple more, maybe pros, some cons, and then kind of what a contract would look like for Snell. So that's what's coming up. So make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. A moneyline bet is simply a bet that chooses which team is going to win that night, regardless of all the spread and odds and everything else. And remember, that's $150 in bonus bets if your team wins. So tonight, Ravens, and Bengals. If you pick one and that team wins, you get $150 in bonus bets. Simple as that. And what is bonus bets? Bonus bets is basically $150 to put towards more bets that's not coming straight out of your pocket. So you can win. You can take that 150 and flip it again, and then flip it again, and then flip it again, and then boom, look at that. You will, you can send us some of that winnings just because you like us. So go join FanDuel right now. There's no better time to get in on the action. And you can check out the app. There's, more than just money line bets. There's spreads, points, covers, in and over-unders, player props. You can build out a same game parlay. So-and-so is going to have more than one touchdown. So-and-so is going to have, less than 50 rushing yards, whatever the case is. So go visit FanDuel.com/lockedon, download the app, check it out, and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. We want to thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day every day. Make sure to find us wherever you find podcasts and on YouTube simply by searching for Locked On Dodgers. And now Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. All right, Jeff. So as we mentioned, there might be some more positives from Blake Snell, but let's kind of move on to, what would make you wary of the Dodgers going after Blake Snell.
So I've mentioned this a couple times before. I made a spreadsheet. I love spreadsheets. It's my favorite thing. Every Cy Young Award winner in baseball history, there have been now 126 of them, and 122 of them had a walk rate below 10%. 122 of the 126 had less than 4 walks per 9. Three guys, Pete Vukovich in 1982, Early Wynn in 1959, and Bob Turley in 1958 had walk rates over 10% and more than 4 walks per 9. The highest on both of those was Bob Turley, 12.6% walk rate and 4.7 walks per 9. Blake Snell, 13.3% walk rate, 5.8 walks per 9. More than a full walk per 9 higher than the previous highest Cy Young Award winner. Now, the reason that Blake Snell was able to win the Cy Young Award despite walking so many hitters is because he allowed just 5.8 hits per 9 this year. He was elite at keeping guys from getting hits, and that meant that even with the ridiculous walk rate, his whip was a respectable 1.189. It's nothing amazing, but it was respectable. But you throw all that together, and Blake Snell's FIP this year, fielding independent pitching, which basically is an attempt to calculate what should his ERA have been based on the things he can control, meaning strikeouts, walks, and home runs. His FIP was 3.44, well over a run higher than his ERA. What all of that means is that either Blake Snell figured out a cheat code this year and figured out how to succeed despite walking a ton of guys, or he got lucky. And that's a pretty big red flag, especially he's going to be 31 years old. Depending on how long a contract he's looking for, I'd be pretty nervous about expecting him to duplicate 2023's performance. The good news is he doesn't necessarily need to duplicate the performance, because even in previous years, the fact is his walk rate this year was higher than it's ever been before. And his strikeout rate was, about what it normally is. I just realized it, 5.0, not 5.8. His per 9 was 5.8, 5.0 walks per 9. But really, if Blake Snell went back to what he was, for the previous 3 seasons, that's pretty good. It's not Cy Young winner, but he could definitely be a solid number 2 or 3 starter for a team like the Dodgers, if they could bring in a couple other guys too. But, I worry that he's going to get reigning Cy Young Award winner money and years. And I would be pretty nervous about the Dodgers being the team to give him that money in those years. The money doesn't, it's not my money, but I only care about the money in as much as it affects their ability to sign other guys. The years concern me more because I'm not convinced Blake Snell is going to be a great pitcher when he's 34 even.
Yeah, I think, well, reigning Cy Young Award money is subjective in a sense because, Bauer got what he got from the Dodgers, but then Robbie Ray got 5 and 115 after he won Cy Young. And that's, if Blake Snell wanted to sign for 5 and 115, I think the Dodgers would sign up for that right now instantly. The other part with like Snell, I think the pros and cons, obviously, we've talked about what it comes down to on the pitching side, but it does come down to what that contract is because, Blake Snell, you said the FIP was, 3.44 compared to 2.25 ERA. Well, the 3.44 FIP, Zach Gallen's ERA, who finished third, was a 3.47 ERA. He had a 3.47 ERA, and his FIP was a little bit better at 3.26. So, like, even if Snell pitched to what his FIP was, it's still a pretty good pitcher. But again, does it come down to, is he making 25 mil a year, which is 25 plus mil, which is ace money, or does it come down to in that 20-25 range, where I think that if he's available in that 20 to 25 range or 20 to 24 range million a year, and the years are not, maybe not 8 years, but if you can get it down to 5 years, I think that's manageable for the Dodgers, especially with Blake Snell. And like I said, the walks and stuff would annoy me as a fan of watching him pitch if he continued to keep that up. But also, if he's not your ace, then it's a little bit, if he is your number 2, you're a pretty good team. If he's your number 3, you have a really good rotation. And I think if anyone the Dodgers sign this offseason, I don't know if there's any ace out there as a free agent. Yamamoto could be a number 1, but I don't expect that to happen in the first year that he comes over. Blake Snell could be your number 1, but probably not on a team that has legitimate like World Series aspirations on paper. But again, with the Dodgers, Walker Buehler could become your number 1 or a good number 2 again. And Blake Snell could be, your 1A or number 3 or whatever the case is. And then, maybe they do trade for Burns. And then now they have a 1 and a 2 and a 3. So, like, there's different ways to go about it. But, yeah, I think it's all going to come down to the contract in terms of what the Dodgers would do. But I do think that, Carlos Rodon, people might see that, after last year. Obviously, Snell hasn't really had injury issues like that. But he got a lot of money, and then he only pitched, like 3 or 4 games for the Yankees last year. And now they still have to keep paying him.
Yeah. And Snell hasn't had injury issues, but he has had innings issues. Like this is only the second time, both times in his career that he has qualified for the ERA title. He has won the ERA title and the Cy Young Award. But that's twice in 8 years that he's pitched enough to qualify. His career high in innings pitched, other than his 2 Cy Young Award seasons, is 129 and a third. Both Cy Young Award seasons, he pitched 180 innings. Which is, not terrible, but I mean, that's in 32 starts this year. So he averaged less than 6 innings a start. And that's because walks too many guys, throws too many pitches, and there was always questions, going back to 2020 World Series. The reason Kevin Cash took Blake Snell out of that game in Game 6 is because there were questions about Blake Snell's ability to get through a lineup the third time. And we can argue all we want about whether that was the right move or not. But it wasn't a move that Cash made without any data to back it up. And so, I haven't looked lately, or like what Snell's splits were this last season, third time through the order. I'm checking it right now. I mean, he actually did quite a bit better third time through the order. So maybe that's a demon he has exorcised, but also he had just over half as many plate appearances against guys their third time through as the first 2 times through, because he doesn't get that deep into games. And that's not necessarily the end of the world. We saw that with the Dodgers this year with all their young pitchers. But we also saw late in the season that even though Lance Lynn wasn't good, he brought some length and he helped. The reason the Dodgers bullpen was very good late in the season is because the starters started pitching more innings. And so you're not going to bring in Blake Snell to be an ace, knowing that he's going to average less than 6 innings a start.
Yeah, I do wonder on Snell's side of things. Obviously money's going to trump all for the most part for most free agents, but I wonder if he does consider teams that are at less, quote unquote, analytically driven in the sense of I want to be able to be, allowed to pitch third time through a lineup. Every team uses analytics, and we don't need to get into the semantics of that word right now. But as it seems, a team like the Rangers and Bruce Bochy, he probably pushed his starters a little bit more than other managers would have pushed their starters, especially in the postseason for sure. So I wonder if Snell is looking at teams that don't have that attachment of analytically driven towards them when he's looking for a free agent team.
Yeah, maybe. Although he might also be thinking analytically driven teams are the reason that I've won 2 Cy Young awards, because they get me out of the game in time. So,
I mean, I don't know if he thought that when Kevin Cash took him out. So,
well, but that's different. That was a World Series game. That wasn't a overall philosophy difference. That was a this game difference. That was a let me pitch this game. But overall, I think it has benefited his career. And so, but yeah, I mean, if you look, his batting average allowed goes way down, even though his walk rate goes way up the third time through the order. And so, he might have been better off getting pulled more often this year before the third time through the order. His walk rate would be better, and he wouldn't have set a record for highest walk rate by a Cy Young Award winner. But he also might not have won the Cy Young Award if he pitched fewer innings. So,
yeah. All right, there are 3 other former Dodger pitchers that are available for free agency. Is there any reason for the Dodgers to look at them or take a flyer on them? We will discuss that, so make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen. Make sure to become an everyday or by listening every day. Locked On Dodgers, wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. And a reminder, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is covering the top sports stories 24/7 with local experts of Locked On, plus national shows covering every league. So go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. All right, Jeff. So names we haven't heard in a while, and one name we recently heard. HyunJin Ryu, Kenta Maeda, Lance Lynn, all are free agents, all had similar projections for 2024 contract on The Athletic, on one of the articles on The Athletic, and all, I guess, potentially could be signed by the Dodgers. So thinking of those 3 names, I don't know if you want to rank them, go through each of them one-on-one, but, what do they make you feel?
Yeah, it's interesting. The similarities are pretty uncanny, at least at the raw numbers. That Lynn is going into his age 37 season. So is Ryu. Maeda's going into age 36 season. And like I said, they're all projected for 1-year deals worth around 10 or $11 million. They're also all 3 coming off of subpar seasons. Maeda is coming off Tommy John surgery. So is Ryu, and both of them missed time and weren't extremely effective this last year. Lance Lynn, obviously, I feel like we can rule Lynn out. I feel like the home runs that he allowed, even with all of the, like we said, he did provide stability for the rotation, 8 innings to help the bullpen out. But I feel like Lance Lynn was a guy the Dodgers got for a specific need for late in the 2023 season. And when you're in the offseason and you have the whole buffet of pitchers in front of you, there's no reason to pick Lance Lynn when you're a team like the Dodgers. And so really, the question will be, would the Dodgers be interested in a reunion with either Maeda or Ryu? And both guys, like I said, there's pros and cons to both. But when I think back about, Ryu had his best season his last year with the Dodgers. He was outstanding, a legitimate Cy Young candidate. Maeda, on the other hand, almost every year ended up in the bullpen by the postseason. And he wasn't bad, but he was never really one of their best options as a starter. And now the positive of that is he does have some of that flexibility. He has experience pitching out of the bullpen and stuff. But I feel like for me, if it was going to be one of these three pitchers, it would be Ryu, just because he has the highest ceiling of the three. And Ryu would fit in, and being a fan favorite, which obviously also applies to Maeda. But I feel like Ryu, if the Dodgers went after him, obviously they would have to get other starting pitchers too, but bringing him Ryu with the idea of him being a number 4 or 5 starter when he's healthy, not counting on him to make more than 20 starts or so. Basically, the hedging your bets against Kershaw not coming back. Ryu could fill that Kershaw role of veteran leadership, pitching well when he's healthy, not expecting too much from him. And for $10 million, I think that could be worth it.
Yeah, I'm completely opposite. I wouldn't touch Ryu with a 10-foot pole, and I don't want Lance Lynn either. I think the answer for me is Maeda. And for the simple fact that he still strikes out guys regardless of, how effective he is in terms of preventing runs, which I think can also always be, kind of aided by the Dodgers. I just always assume that they'll be a little bit better when they come to the Dodgers. But 117 strikeouts and 104 innings last year. He made 20 starts coming off, like you said, Tommy John surgery. Second year removed from Tommy John surgery now, even at age 36. I feel like maybe he'll come back a little bit stronger. And I feel like because he has that duality of being able to pitch bullpen or starter, I don't know if he would want that, which it might prevent all this from happening anyways. But yeah, I think for me, I think it's Maeda. Ryu. Looking at his last year, he threw over 5 innings once. He allowed less than 2 runs in like 4 of his 12 outings. I don't know. I just, for me, I'd rather go a guy that has stuff and kind of figure it out and play it that way rather than go with somebody that, kind of relies on, especially with Ryu, like he's always relied on being a good pitcher. And I think that some of the numbers that, showing from what he did last year just don't excite me too much. But, if they sign him, it's not like I would be mad at it. But for me, it's Maeda, like way up there.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. And a lot of it comes down to how much of Ryu's ineffectiveness the last 2 seasons was because of the injury, because when you have Tommy John surgery, usually you're hurt for a little while before. Walker Buehler, before his Tommy John surgery, was having the worst season of his career. And then it's like, oh, that's why. And when you come back from Tommy John surgery, sometimes it takes a while to get back into the swing of things. And so the last time Ryu was healthy was 2021. And his strikeout rate was not Maeda level and not even previous Ryu levels. It was down, but it was 7.6 strikeouts per 9. In 2019 with the Dodgers, it was only 8.0. And so he's shown he can be successful without the ton of strikeouts. And so really it would come down to, all right, why do we think that he's been so bad the last 2 years? If it really was the injury and he's fully healthy now, I feel like that is a different story. And Maeda, maybe because Maeda did have his Tommy John surgery. I always go back to the fact that when the Dodgers originally signed Maeda, it was on a really funky contract because they were so worried about his arm. And then he ended up being every year their only starter who didn't get hurt. But now he's had that Tommy John surgery. So maybe, I might just be my brain is used to being worried that Maeda is one pitch away from blowing out his elbow. And now that he's done that, maybe he's okay. But, I also think back, you and I have been doing a podcast together for a long time. And I remember back on our old podcast saying, if Kenta, I don't think HyunJin Ryu is ever going to throw another pitch again. And it took about 1.5 years for him to prove me wrong. It was, when he, what was it? Some nasty groin injury or something, like tore the muscle off the bone. I just didn't think Ryu was ever going to come back. And then he did come back and was better than ever. And, I guess I still, maybe I'm just on outdated suppositions in my brain. I still think Maeda's about to get hurt. And I still think Ryu is proved me wrong and came back and was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, that if either of them are your number 5 starter or like a swing guy, you're not that bad. But I do think, specifically like even signing either of them kind of means that they didn't get who they wanted at the top of the rotation, or they're really going to be really protective of the young arms and Buehler's arm on the back end of the rotation. So, specifically when it comes to it.
It's a tricky thing, with Buehler coming back, you don't know exactly what to expect from him. The rookies, they're going to have to hedge their bets some.
So. Yeah. And, that's where we're going to have to see arms like this kind of make a 1-year deal, a little bit of a prove-it deal. The one thing that they, let's just say they did sign one of these two guys, and then, hey, the rookie guys all took a step forward, looked good. Walker Buehler's looked good. They did sign 1 or 2 other starting pitchers. The Dodgers have never been a team to flip guys at the deadline, but that would be a candidate if everything else went right and they felt comfortable moving forward. Okay, now we have excess now. Kershaw might be coming back. We might be able to flip somebody at the deadline.
Yeah, or that could be another argument in favor of Maeda because he has pitched out of the bullpen before and they could just switch him back to that role.
Yeah. All right, Jeff, you got anything else?
Just one other thing. You've mentioned the Locked On Sports Today 24/7 YouTube channel. There's also a Locked On Sports Los Angeles 24/7 YouTube channel where you can see this podcast at times throughout the day, but also Lakers. I think the Angels are on there, Clippers, probably. I think there's UCLA and USC and some national shows. So you could also search YouTube for the Locked On Sports Los Angeles 24/7 channel.
Our buddy Doug McCain with the Locked On Rams.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so.
I forgot there's football teams too.
Yeah. All right. That's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day. Make sure to check out those Locked On Sports 24/7 channels. Make sure to become an everydayer by listening or watching to this show every single day, or as close to it as possible. We're not going to keep tabs that you watched 25 out of 25 episodes this month, or whatever, however many it ends up being. But if you're in the 20 range every month, you're an everydayer in our book. So, and if you're not quite there yet, go ahead and bump it up. 30 minutes, 15 minutes. If you listen on 2 times speed, you can get it done pretty quick, any part of your day. If you want to start your day with this, though, that's how we prefer it. If you want to find us on social media, we're on Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Dodgers. Jeff is on Twitter at Snydog. I'm at Vincent91. You can DM either of us for any questions, comments, or concerns. You can also send those via email, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or via voicemail text at 323-863-5625. We're here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be here with us when you get in your car. If you're at home, search my device, play podcast, Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. Have a good one.
We'll talk to you tomorrow.